Good evening, brethren. We're on chapter 70, and let's start with verse 1. So it says, "And then it occurred that my spirit was transferred, and it ascended into the heavens. And I saw the sons." Here, this is something that I guess needs explanation. For instance, I will be going between the two books that normally I use to read here. Since, like I just said in the prayer, what we're about to read um, is interpreted in different ways, or there are dozens of calendars that are supposed to be based on the Book of Enoch, yet they are different from each other. So I'm pretty sure that throughout the reading, there will be some comments and even, well, yeah, parentheses pretty much that will try and lead towards the interpretation of the person who translated that version. So, but we're not there yet. I just wanted to mention that because we just saw how it says the sons of the power, which in a way is not a bad translation, but it may be misinterpreted because of the title Elohim. The title in Hebrew, Elohim, which means powers, is used by Yahweh, of course, for all power comes from him, but also is used for angels and even for humans who have authority. So the title Elohim is a title and therefore can be used for different entities, not only for the creator of all, Yahweh. As we see in Genesis, for instance, it says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Then in the second chapter, we start seeing that it says Yahweh Elohim. So Elohim in the Hebrew, well, first of all, that's one of the signs of the humility of the creator, for he uses a title in the first chapter instead of his name. So that is part of the humility of the Almighty, but also in a deeper understanding or interpretation of those verses is showing how the Almighty was working through certain type of angels who are called Elohim. So Yahweh Elohim is Yahweh working through certain angels who use or for whom Yahweh uses the title Elohim. And then there are other parts of scriptures where Yahweh manifests as Yahweh Sabaoth. That is Yahweh through different type of angels, others obviously than those called Elohim. So Yahweh Sabaoth is working through different angels who are in charge of the accusation through the law. So using the law, they accuse and then they punish pretty much. So Elohim, and I repeat, Elohim, Sabaoth are titles that are connected to the Father Almighty, of course, for he is the one who has all power. And Sabaoth means hosts or armies. And the Almighty obviously is above all armies, and all the armies of angels serve him. So it's always explained, as it is written, from Adam till Moshe, death reigned on this earth. From Moshe to John the Baptist, the law and the prophets. And from Mashiach till our time, the truth and the favor. So the truth and the favor from like forgiveness of sins came with Mashiach. Therefore, before Mashiach came, there was no truth. I mean, there was truth, but it was not understood. They would interpret scriptures according to the letter, and that led to wrong interpretations and wrong fulfillment of the law. One of the reasons why they didn't accept Mashiach when he came, they couldn't even recognize him, even though it was all over the scriptures prophesied. So the title Elohim also has the numerical value of the word that is translated as nature in Hebrew. So it's pretty much one or another reason why Yahweh uses that title throughout the first book, the first chapter of Genesis. For it says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. I repeat, Elohim has the same numerical value as nature. Therefore, all that is natural in this reality was created through the title Elohim. And that title refers to certain type of angels. And above those angels, it refers to the power from whom all powers come. That's why Elohim is in plural, even though Yahweh is one, Yahweh Echad. We read in, I guess we're going to have to go to scriptures for a moment, but let me just show how it is translated here. It says, thus it happened after this that my spirit passed out of sight and ascended into the heavens. And I saw the sons of the Kodesh Malachim. I wasn't expecting that, but it's even better because it's confirming what I was just saying. Because I didn't read it before or study. So it says, and I saw the sons of the Kodesh Malachim walking upon the flame of fire. Their garments were white and their overcoats and the light of their faces was like snow. So it actually says the sons of the Malachim, the sons of the Malachim. Those Malachim who are called also Elohim. That's why the other translation has, I saw the sons of the power. But obviously the sons of the power would be, and I'm pretty sure that's what he meant, where he translated it that way, the sons of the Almighty Creator, Yahweh. But that is not really what he's saying. So that's why I wanted to show you this other translation. Even though I thought it was going to say Elohim, but it just says Malachim, which I repeat, is a confirmation still of what I was saying. It had to do with how the name was revealed, but then the name disappeared. It was taken up, and that's one of the reasons why people don't know the name, because it was taken from humanity because of their sins. They weren't worthy of having the name. In a way, we became worthy of having the name through Mashiach. So through our belief in the Messiah, we receive the honor to know his name. So it's saying here, so Yahweh of hosts is Yahweh himself working through the angels. Yeah, Yahweh of hosts is Yahweh using an army of angels. For there are different types of angels. Each angel has a different purpose, a different job. So when it says Yahweh Elohim, is Yahweh through certain angels. When it says Yahweh Sabaoth, is Yahweh through different type of angels. And like I was saying, and I didn't even finish it, when the scripture says that, well, it began with death ruling over this earth, then came the law and the prophets, and then the truth and the favor. We also see that throughout the Tanakh or the Old Testament. For we see first that it starts as Yahweh working through those angels called Elohim. Interestingly enough, one of those angels, actually the father of them, and I'm gonna have to explain a bunch of other things, but let me start again then. When Yahweh contracted his light in order to create space, reason why that space was in darkness when Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Within that darkness, within that space, Yahweh created an angel who would be the father of the rest of the angels. That angel had the face of a lion. That's why, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but scripture says that Satan is going around like a roaring lion looking for whom he may devour. For the first Satan had the shape of a lion. That's why the lion, whose image came from that angel, is the king of the jungle. We were made in the image of the Creator Almighty Yahweh, while the animals were made in the image of the of the angels. So, and just so you guys know, in Judaism, it is forbidden to even get into this subject. They are not allowed to even think or study about how this creation came to be and what was before verse 1 of Torah, Genesis 1. They believe that angels were created on the second day. And there are other opinions regarding that. And in Judaism, it is a sin pretty much to say that Yahweh used anything to make creation. We know that Yahweh created everything from nothing. That is true completely, of course. But to them, if Yahweh then made the angels do anything in creation, that to them is blasphemy. But kind of the issue that they have is that, like we have spoken before, to Judaism, there are seven heavens, and under those, earth. But when Yahushua came, he said that he came from way above those heavens. He came from a higher place that they didn't know of. Those seven heavens that they speak of in Judaism are all within what we call the second heaven. For in the New Covenant, we read about Paul, who was taken to the third heaven. And that third heaven is when we separate Yahweh as the third, the place of the angels as the second, and the firmament where the stars, the luminaries are, as the first, what we see. So the first is what humans see, the heavens of this reality. Above that heaven is the second heaven, the heaven of the angels, which has 7 divisions. And then above it is the Most High, Yahweh, the third heaven. So in the Gnostic books, that third heaven that we find in the New Covenant is the 8th. And it's talked about as the 8th heaven because it is the one above the 7 that Judaism would speak about. So I hope I'm not confusing anybody. If we see it in the simplest way, there are 3 heavens, that of the Father, that of the angels, and that of the humans. Those 3 realities. These 2 realities are within this reality because Yahweh is the one who has everything within him, for he contracted himself in order to create space. So space is within him, and that's why in Judaism he's called Hamakom, which means the place. Yahweh himself is the place in which everything is. And I would say, because if that were not the case, then the place where he would be greater than him, for he would be able to contain him. Yet instead it is him who contains all things, as it is also written. So for Judaism, it is, well, because of the commandments of men, they forbid students from reading anything other than the Talmud, and even sometimes scriptures, for they don't allow people to read, for instance, Daniel 9 and calculate the times, for they would understand that Mashiach is Yahushua. As well, Isaiah 53, they give a different opinion. Ever since Mashiach came, they changed the interpretation of it. And most Jewish people don't even know about that chapter, because when they are told about it, they automatically connect it with Yahushua. So since they would realize that they killed and rejected Mashiach, they are forbidden from reading those parts of scriptures. Obviously, they claim that they are going to misinterpret it. They're not ready. They wouldn't understand. But the fact is that they would find out that they have been taught a lie. So in a way, the same thing happens with looking into Genesis and having the angels as a medium through which the Almighty made certain things. Like, for instance, nature. Like I was saying, nature and Elohim, same numerical value. So, just like a king, for Yahweh is king, it is written, just like a king, if he wants to do something, let's say a bridge, he doesn't have to go and actually work on the bridge. He says the word, he gives all the materials with his whatever power he has, riches or whatever, he gets the materials, he gets his people, those who serve him, which when it comes to a monarch, he is pretty much the owner of the people. The people of the kingdom are the people of the king, so he can do whatever he wants with them, just like Yahweh himself said it when the people of Israel were asking for a king. Yahweh told them, you don't know what you're asking for. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants with you and with your children. And they still said, we want it like the other nations. So a king says the word, gives the materials, and his people get the materials, go and work, make the bridge, and that bridge was made by the king. So the king can say, that bridge, I made it. Because he gave the order, he gave anything that was needed. The same can be said of the Creator Almighty. Yahweh gave life, gave spirit, created matter, created angels, gave the word, for everything was made through the word, as it is written in the book of John. And the word is Mashiach, Yahushua. So everything was made through the word, just like when a king says a word and his word is done because he's king. So Yahweh, through his word, made everything. I want to make that clear. That's how it happened. Yes. But when it comes to matter, this reality of matter, it was given shape through certain angels. That is also a reason why it is written that we are going to be given bodies that were not made by hands. So by saying that, Paul is saying that these bodies were made by hands. In the Gnostic books, we read about the angels, and there are other books that are not found yet, but they are made reference of, talking about the actual angels who had to do with, for instance, it is written that Ariel, the first angel, was the one involved with making the brain. And then other angels, the right hand, other one, the left hand, the fingers, the skin, the veins, in every single part was pretty much as a job for a certain angel. That is one of the reasons why also angels would have the idea that they had more power over us than they should, not understanding that it was all coming from the Father, from the Ruach. I hope nobody's getting confused. I'm going to explain a little bit more. So when we see in the Old Testament that Yahweh Elohim would manifest, it was Yahweh through certain angels. We actually see it. He would manifest, he would speak, the scripture would speak of him, yet people were speaking to an angel. So people get confused, and they used to get confused back in the day, and they would think that the angel was the creator himself. So they would worship the angel, and they would get in trouble. For that's how a lot of idolatry began. And a lot of angels desired that worship, and they ended up taking it for themselves, and that's why they became fallen. Then after Yahweh manifests as Yahweh Elohim, he starts manifesting throughout the first half of the prophets as Yahweh Sabaoth. And that is when we see the punishments going on his people and also the nations. When they would be evil, Yahweh Sabaoth would manifest and bring vengeance. But then later on with the prophets, we see how all of a sudden it is not Yahweh Elohim manifesting to them. It is not Yahweh Sabaoth. It is Dabar Yahweh, which means the word of Yahweh. That is Yahweh manifesting himself directly through his son, Mashiach, the word, before he came in the flesh. So that's the process that we see throughout the Old Testament, the Tanakh, before Mashiach came and got in the flesh. And John tells us that is the word. In Job 1, verse 6, it says, and the day came to be that the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh. So a lot of people believe, because of the misunderstanding regarding the title Elohim, that these are the sons of Yahweh, but that's not what the scriptures are saying. In fact, look how in the same verse it says, and the day came to be that the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh. Why doesn't it say the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Elohim, or the sons of Yahweh came to present themselves before Yahweh? It says the sons of Elohim came to Yahweh. So that is there is a difference right there. And Satan also came among them. So Satan was one of the sons of Elohim. Was one of these that came to present himself before Yahweh. Yahweh remains hidden even to the angels. So there was an angel representing him before the angels. So they would come before that angel, that main angel, who would speak to them as Yahweh himself. Just like, for instance, Moshe. We see in the book of Exodus that Yahweh made Moshe to be his representative before the people. So Moshe was as Elohim to the people. And it is written in the book of Exodus. And if you guys have questions, we can go through those parts. I was just not expecting to have to explain all of this right now. So I'm trying to keep it short. So you guys let me know with your questions, what you want me to explain further. So, as I was saying earlier, Yahweh contracted his light, then space was created and it was filled with darkness. Within darkness, an angel, the first angel, was created, Ariel, which means the lion of the mighty one, for his shape was that of a lion. Since he was in darkness, he didn't realize that there was a light that was above him and greater than him. So because of that darkness, that angel thought that he was all that there was. He thought he was the power. Through the Ruach of Yahweh, Yahweh would do things, create things within that second heaven that he just created, space, let's call it. And that angel would think that all those things were coming from him and that he was the actual creator of all those things. Several angels came from him, first 7, then other 7, and then a bunch of others. But the first 7, whose names are given in the Gnostic books, those first 7 that he had, amongst those was Hillel, who eventually became Lucifer. So Hillel is a son of the first angel, Ariel. Eventually, that first angel, since he thought that he was the only mighty one, said certain things that he wasn't supposed to say. Well, in the sense of he wasn't, when it comes to his point of view, of course, he wasn't supposed to act that way, so he was punished. But obviously, Yahweh knew everything that was going to happen, so in a way, he was supposed to feel that part. For he became the left. When he became evil, Yahweh placed him on the left, and he chose one of his children, Hillel, and placed them on the right. For when Yahweh revealed himself as the light, Hillel saw the light and praised the light for judging his father as evil for what he had done. So because of that praise, he was given a little bit of light. And that's that is when he became Lucifer, meaning he who bears the light. He became the angel who had light from the Creator Almighty, and therefore he became the leader of the angels at that moment when his father was taken to the left. The envy that first angel felt when he saw his child getting his power and even greater power, that envy gave birth to death. So death came from that first angel. That is why the first part of history, death ruled. And that is why the title Elohim is used throughout that same part. Then comes he who would accuse with the law of the right. And that would use, that angel would use the title Sabaoth. And then came Mashiach from the middle and the top. So left and right, Samael and Halel. Also, Ariel, when he rebelled, he became Samael. So his name was changed, for he was no longer a pet for the Creator. He became the mighty one who would blind the people. He became the poison of humanity, for death came from him, which are the meanings that are given to the name Samael: poison of Elohim, the blind Elohim. So left as wickedness, right as justice, but became accusation. And then the middle is where Mashiach came with mercy and truth. And well, I'm trying not to get too much into it. I think I already did, but it doesn't matter. So when we read in the book of Job, we see that the sons of Elohim, not the sons of Yahweh, the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh. And Satan also came among them. And Yahweh said to Satan, "From where do you come?" And Satan answered Yahweh and said, "From diligently searching in the earth and from walking up and down in it." So he was looking for whom he may devour. And he continues, he wants to devour Job, and Yahweh uses that moment to test Satan, to test Job, and give us an amazing teaching and also prophecy. But if we go to the book of John, chapter 1 also, we read something a bit different, and I hope the translation will have it right. So let's see the book of John, chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. It says, talking about Mashiach, he came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as receive him, you see here we have an issue. I knew it. But to as many as receive him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Yahweh, to those believing in his name. So in this translation, they pretty much write Elohim every time. In the New Covenant, they pretty much write Elohim, and I don't know why they don't look at the context to realize if it was the title that was being used or his name that was being used. In fact, look how it says that is through believing in his name. So a better translation of this verse, and the reason why I brought you guys to this verse is because it says, "But as many as receive him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Yahweh, to those believing in his name." That means that if a person doesn't believe in his name, in the name of Mashiach, Yahushua, that person is not a child of Yahweh. Remember that Yahushua told us, when you pray, pray like this: "Our Father who art in heaven, set apart be thy name." So Mashiach came as a son to make us children of his father as well. And his father is Yahweh. So even though most people claim to be children of the Almighty, they don't really know that they are not, unless they accept the name of Mashiach, because they have not read scriptures. They claim they are children of the Creator because they were made by the Creator, but that would make them creatures, not children. So a person, a human, is a creature until that person accepts the name of Mashiach, who is the son of Yahweh, and therefore that spirit gets into him or her, and through that rebirth spiritually, that person is no longer a creature, is a child of Yahweh. It is written that we are made new creations in that aspect of children, not just creature. So we see in the book of Job that the children of Elohim went to see Yahweh. Those are the angels, the B'nai HaElohim, which is also a title. And let me go to Genesis 6. It says, and it came to be when men began to increase on the face of the earth and the daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. So look how it says the daughters of men. Why wouldn't it say the daughters of Elohim if they were also children of Elohim, like most people believe? So we see here that we become children of Yahweh when we accept the name of Yahushua according to John 1:12. That's very important. It is one thing to be a child of Elohim and another to be a child of Yahweh. A child of Elohim, a son of Elohim, is an angel. A son of Yahweh is a human made in his likeness and image who accepts the name of the Messiah and obviously him as Savior. So we see in John 1, and sadly that interpretation, that translation wasn't the best in that case, even though it's better than most, but not in that case, because that issue with the title and the name in the new covenant. So, and I repeat, if you guys have questions, please make them so that I don't miss any point that is necessary to make with this explanation. So we see throughout the Old Covenant, the Old Testament, that never are humans called children of Elohim or children of Yahweh. Never. We are, back then, creatures, the sons of Adam. That's it. The title, sons of Elohim, is always used referring to the angels, as here in Genesis 6:2 and in Job 1:6 that we just read. When we accept Mashiach, we become children of Yahweh. That's why Yahushua himself came as the son to make us children. He himself said that we were no longer slaves or servants, for the slave doesn't know what his master is doing. He just does what he's told, and that's it. He doesn't know why he's doing what he's doing, like the angels. But through Mashiach, we became children. And in that context that I was mentioning, it refers to us as friends. But remember that a friend is pretty much a person who is similar to the friend. So when Yahweh called Abraham his friend, he was raising him up and placing him as his equal, which is amazing, showing the humility of the Creator. And also that was part of the things that angels did not like. They couldn't understand and still cannot how Yahweh loves us so much and is so close to us, and we're so willing even to forgive our sins, while the angels actually wanted to destroy us for our sins. Starting with that angel from the right, who became the accuser, Hillel. So with the law, he accuses humanity. Mashiach came to fulfill the law, to free us from that accusation of that angel. So in the new covenant, John 1 says, we become children of Yahweh through our belief in the name of Mashiach. That's why Mashiach tells us that he made us friends. He made us sons of Yahweh. And he told us, when you pray, pray, Father who are in heaven. And that is very important, because before Mashiach said that prayer, people would only call Yahweh king. They could not see him as father. That was way too close of a relationship for humans to dare to call upon the Almighty as their father. So before Mashiach, they would say, in one of the prayers that is repeated a lot in Judaism is Baruch Ata Yahweh Eloheinu, Melech Haolam. Asher Kidshanu, and it continues, but a lot of the prayers in Judaism begin like that. Baruch Ata Yahweh. Well, they don't say Yahweh, they say Adonai, but it should be Yahweh. Baruch Ata Yahweh. Blessed are you, Yahweh. Melech Haolam means king of the universe, king of the world. So that is the most common prayer. They would call him king. That was the closest relationship that they could think of with the Almighty as king. But then Mashiach came and said, call him father. So that took a lot of people by surprise. So I hope all of that is clear. We become children of Yahweh. We are the only creation who is given that gift, the possibility of becoming a child of the one creator, Yahweh. The angels are never called children of Yahweh. They are called sons of Elohim, because the title Elohim, even though fits Yahweh, refers in this case to the first angel created in that space that Yahweh made when he contracted himself. So I hope all of that is clear. And it was all to explain that verse from Hanoch. And like I was saying, in a way, this translation this time makes more sense. And I would love to have the Hebrew book of Hanoch, which I don't, to see why the difference between this translation and the other. Because Kodesh Malachim are two Hebrew words. But the power, as the other translation has it, would be the title Elohim. Even El, for they don't write it in plural. So that means that pretty much one of the two is changing the wording, the original Hebrew, kind of to help, quote unquote, the reader, which I don't think should be done. Yahweh is the one who helps the reader. Yahweh said this and that word should be written. This and that word should be the ones that we find and read when we have the book. So it's sad that a lot of people who translate scriptures tend to try to help the reader and end up confusing the scripture. Do the angels have the mental aspects of animals too, or just in shape or form? It's similar. Obviously, they are similar in the sense of, you know how you may speak to an animal, let's say a dog in this case, which are the ones that we tend to, well, live with them the most. Like most people have dogs or cats. It will be harder to speak about a lion or stuff like that, which not a lot of people have a relationship with. But, well, in general, if you talk to an animal, you will see how the animal understands a little bit of what you're telling the animal. Depends on the animal, of course, but they all will understand a little bit according to the understanding that the Almighty Creator gave them. For instance, like I was saying, a dog will tilt his head trying to understand what you're telling him, and the dog will, in fact, understand part of what you're saying. You will understand what certain words mean in the sense of what you're trying to, let's say you say eat. He understands that he must go and eat whatever you gave them. But he doesn't really know, as we know, the definition of the word eat. is to put something to your mouth, chew it, take it to your belly, and then digest it. And well, and all of the processes that may go with it, they don't understand all of that. They just get, all right, so you want me to swallow that? Okay, let's do that. So they get the simplest of whatever understanding you're trying to put in their heads. Is kind in that sense is the same with angels. For we know that in scriptures, we are told that they don't understand scriptures. They know scriptures, they don't understand scriptures. They only understand the letter. So it means the simplest, which is not what the Almighty is telling us. For he gave us reason, intellect, so that we may go deeper, so that we may understand parables, so that we may understand metaphors. An animal will never understand a metaphor because that's just way too much. It's outside the spectrum of his understanding. So you can communicate with an animal. Depends on the animal. Well, according to certain studies, the amount of words that they may be able to understand or connect with an action, because that's kind of like they do it. You tell them the word and they connect it with something that they have done before. They know that that's what we are trying to tell them, but they don't know the definition of the word or any other thing like that. So angels were not given all the understanding that is available for us. And I would say available because not all humans are really, I should say even humans. And I hope this is not misunderstood, but in scriptures, we read how Yahweh speaks of the nations, kingdoms, as animals. Those kingdoms represented by animals. For instance, Babel was represented by a lion. The Persians were represented by a bear. The Greeks were represented by a leopard. The Romans were represented by a mutant, an animal that we don't know, a mix of different characteristics. And the same happens with all nations. They all, according to their beliefs, their actions, would actually act like a certain type of animal. For instance, in the book of Daniel, we see how Nebuchadnezzar, he, the king of Babel, was like a lion with eagle wings, but then he became a human. And that story is of a time when he rejected the Almighty. He became an animal for 7 years. He even grew feathers. But then when he realized that he was wrong about his belief, that he was the owner of earth and all of that, that he believed as a king, and he realized that all the power that he had, he received it from the Creator Almighty, the mighty one of Daniel. That is when he became a human. So even in the vision that is given to Daniel, when the nations are represented by animals, the nation of Babel, who was a lion with wings of eagle, eventually becomes a human. So if a human being accepts the fact that there is a Creator Almighty who made us in his image and likeness, and that he is the one who gives us everything, power, strength, understanding, wisdom, etc., then that person is a true human. But if that person doesn't accept that fact, it doesn't matter if that person has the shape of a human, his actions, his thoughts are like those of an animal, for he will end up acting like an animal, not like a human. A human, a true human, doesn't lie, doesn't steal, doesn't kill, honors his father and mother, loves Yahweh with all his heart, all his mind, all his strength, etc., etc. The commandments. A true human acts according to the one who made him, according to his will. While any person who likes to act in a different way will end up acting like an animal. It depends on the person. It depends on his or her weakness. It depends on the sin that that person commits, the animal that that person represents. And since angels are the ones from whom the images of animals were taken, then that means that when a person doesn't act like a human, is because he is following the desires of his flesh and acting according to what a certain angel teaches, like the doctrines of demons. So that person will be like that angel, and that angel happens to be the image from whom an animal was taken. For instance, people who are fornicators, they are like rabbits. We see in scriptures that rabbits are an impure animal, so it could not be eaten when it comes to the flesh, when it comes to the letter, because it chews the cud. It does it in a different way, but it doesn't have the split hoof. So the rabbit is not pure, and it represents people who go around having children with several, for instance, in this case, a man who has children with different women, has children in different houses, because of his fornication, because rabbits act that way. They go around and make different, they have their rabbits with a bunch of other ones. That is why the rabbit is used, for instance, for Playboy, and other things like that. But for instance, Playboy is a perfect example of how fornication is connected with that type of animal. Then there are many others. For instance, the one that is the most common to speak about when it comes to flesh is the pig. The pig appears to be set apart, for it has a split hoof, but it doesn't chew the cud. So you can only find out if he's pure by seeing its insides. The Almighty told us about it, so we know from the book of Moshe, the books of Moshe, the law. But that's why the pig, when it goes down, puts its feet like to the front, kind of to act like if he was pure, because it has split. But if you were to look at how he eats and what it goes, what happens inside, you will realize it doesn't chew the cud. So that means it is not a pure animal. So the pig represents people who are lukewarm, pretty much, like the scripture says in Revelation 3 about those who are lukewarm, whom Yahweh will vomit from his mouth. He cannot stand people who are lukewarm, because Yahweh prefers like truth always, of course. In that matter, what I mean is that if a person is a thief, Yahweh will respect more the thief who accepts to be a thief than the one who is stealing while saying that he's helping. For instance, a lot of preachers who are stealing from the people and teaching lies. They're not teaching the scriptures. They only speak about getting money, and then they get the money from his people and don't help those people. So they are being like pigs. People who act like they are set apart, people who act like they are humble, but in fact they are not. Inside of them, their hearts are filled with evil thoughts. They are thinking the opposite of what they are doing, and that is being lukewarm. Yahweh would prefer if that person would be like honest, and I mean honest when it comes to accepting what he is, what he likes, what he does. Even if he will be punished for that sin, of course, he won't be punished as much as the person who claims to be set apart but is not. And that is pretty much what Halel is. Samael represents those who are evil in a clear way. Halel, Lucifer, represents those who claim to be pure, set apart, good, special, better than, yet are even worse than those on the left. So that's why Yahweh vomits those from his mouth, those people. So with the question, it said, do the angels have the mental aspects of animals too, or just in shape or form? The mental aspects, yeah, but not exactly like the animal. So I hope that it was understood with everything that I just said regarding how if you have an animal, you can communicate with the animal, but the animal won't get everything that you're telling them. So the same happens with the angels. Scripture says that they don't understand scriptures like we can understand scriptures. And I say we can because it is when we accept Mashiach, confess his name, that the Ruach comes to us and teaches us all things. So when we read, the intellect anointed by the Ruach will help us to understand what we are reading. We may read something according to the letter, but then the Spirit will tell us that means this and that. Like, for instance, when Mashiach said regarding the leaven of the Pharisees, and the disciples thought he was talking about bread. And Mashiach was like, no, when will you understand? I'm not talking about bread. I'm talking about hypocrisy. So the animal would only understand he's talking about bread. The human will get that he's saying a metaphor. He's talking about hypocrisy. So the Pharisees, who were like animals, couldn't understand anything that Mashiach was saying. Even the disciples sometimes, because they were followers of the same teaching before Mashiach came and explained it to them. So, and also we know that the Spirit came after Mashiach left. So the understanding of the disciple was not the same when they were with Mashiach than after Mashiach gave them the Ruach in Shavuot. So that's one of the things regarding the angels, and one of the reasons why the angels, some angels, not all, some angels don't like us that much, because they saw how Yahweh gave us something greater. Even though he made us a little bit less than angels when it comes to power, he made us greater through Mashiach, through his Ruach, when it comes to understanding. So another thing that I wanted to say, we go to 1 Peter 1:12. Let me see. This is the one from verse 10. Concerning this deliverance, the prophets have sought out and searched out, prophesying concerning the favor for you. So before Mashiach came, who is the truth, the prophets would receive prophecy, but they wouldn't understand the prophecy. And we see it time and time again when the prophet receives the prophecy, and then he asks the angel, what was that? What did I just see? What does that mean? So concerning the deliverance, the prophets have sought out and searched out, prophesying concerning the favor for you, because they were prophesying about something that would come to us. Searching to know what sort of time the Ruach, which was in them, the spirit of prophecy, which is the testimony of Mashiach, was pointing out concerning Mashiach, when it was bearing witness beforehand the sufferings of Messiah and the schemes that would follow, to whom it was revealed that they were serving, not themselves. So the prophets realized it was revealed to them that they were not serving themselves. They were serving Yahweh on our behalf. To whom it was revealed that they were not serving, not themselves, that they were serving, to whom it was revealed that they were serving, not themselves, but you, in these matters, which now have been announced to you through those who brought the good news to you by the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit sent from heaven, into which the Malachim long to look into. If they long to look into, is because they cannot. The Malachim, the messengers, were not allowed to understand the plan of Yahweh, even though it was written, even though they had all the knowledge of the letter, because that is also important. Angels are given all the knowledge regarding whatever job they have. Let's say an angel is the angel of water. He knows everything that there is to know about water. But for instance, he may not understand that Yahushua is the water of life, because that is a metaphor. Just like water helps us in the physical, Yahushua is that in the spiritual. We cannot live without him, just like we couldn't live without water. So an angel will know that water is made of this and that, and is everything that it is, and that we need it. But the connection with Mashiach is where they get lost. I repeat, like in a metaphor, like in a parable. So angels, the messengers, long to look into. They long to look into, meaning they wish they could understand it. They wish they could get it. And we got it through the Ruach given to us by Mashiach. So they know, I repeat, everything regarding the subject for which they were made. An angel that was made for lightning, an angel that was made to make grass grow, knows everything about the grass, but doesn't know anything about water. That one that was created for water doesn't know anything about grass. And neither of those know anything about lightning. So if an angel was created for a certain job, it's all that angel knows. And no one knows like that angel. But there is a difference between knowing and understanding, which comes through the Ruach, for instance. So I hope that part is clear, brother. Is that why Mashiach was called the Lion of Yahudah? He was the positive of the negative. In a way, but I wouldn't say he's the positive of the negative. Instead, I would say that the Satan as a lion is the negative. That's it. For it's pretty much like comparing the power that, well, like you said, in the negative that is given to Satan as king of wickedness, of evil. Mashiach came as the king of good, the king of truth. And also, Yahudah was the tribe that represents kings. And amongst the animals, lion is king. So that's why that animal was used to refer to the tribe of Yahudah. And then since Mashiach would come from that tribe to give us the kingdom of Yahweh, that's why it is mentioned in that aspect. Now, also remember that Mashiach came as the lamb, and now his messenger, or the second coming, comes as the lion, because he comes as the prodigal son, and people will see him as evil. People, the world, when he comes as a thief in the night. I say all of that because a lion, when it comes to the letter, a lion was not supposed to be eaten. You cannot eat a lion because it doesn't have the characteristics of those animals that according to the letter were humans were able to eat. And I say according to the letter because of what Mashiach speaks about, and how Mashiach explains pretty much that we should not take it according to the letter, but instead according to the spirit. We shouldn't be like pigs. We shouldn't be like rabbits. We shouldn't be like octopus, like an octopus who is in the deep, dark waters, getting into the mud pretty much, and other details regarding the other animals that appear as not pure. So, yeah, I hope that was clear. It is him that contains all things. That's right. That's why Yahweh is omnipresent. He's everywhere. Exactly. That would add to the hatred of the angels toward us. They made us in a way so they feel entitled to rule us, but Yahweh loves us more. Exactly, no. And like I said, I want to make that clear. They made the flesh. That's why there is evil in the flesh. They made the flesh. They didn't make us. The flesh is a vehicle. Yahweh made us when he sent his Ruach, his Neshama, which traveled like a Ruach, and when it entered us, when mixed with the flesh, became a Nefesh, a living Nefesh, which is a soul. So the soul was made by Yahweh through his Ruach, and we are the souls. The bodies are just vehicles for the souls to be within this reality. But the bodies will not enter the kingdom. That's why we need to be transformed, because flesh and blood will not inherit the kingdom. It is written in 1 Corinthians 1. So flesh and blood will not inherit the kingdom, because flesh and blood is of this reality, and it works only as a vehicle for our souls. So we were made by Yahweh in his image and likeness, soul and spirit, and placed in a body of flesh, which is a vehicle. But the angels think they have authority because they had something to do with giving shape to atoms. to the matter. Hope that's clear. That's where the stories of the Sumerian tablets with Enki and exactly, brother. Yeah, that's why there are those stories regarding the Anunnaki who claim to have made humans. That explains the battle between Jacob and the angel. That's right, Priscilla. Well, that is all explained in that chapter written in Spanish in our channel. But in a few words, that is exactly the point there. It says that Jacob fought Elohim and he won. What? That makes no sense when you interpret it as taught by Christianity or even Judaism. It makes no sense. He fought an angel who had the title Elohim, an angel that was working like every other angel for Elohim, even though he was doing something evil, for he was fighting the one who was chosen. And why was he fighting Jacob? Because that angel, Samael, who is the one who Jacob fought, and that is understood in Judaism. I was referring to another part. Like in Judaism, you can go and check, and there are two opinions. One says that he fought Mikhail. That doesn't make sense. Another opinion says that he fought Samael. That does make sense because Samael was the angel of Esau, Esau, the brother of Jacob. So Jacob was coming to face him. Esau wanted to kill Jacob. So his angel went and tried to kill him beforehand. So the angel of Esau went and fought Jacob. Jacob fought the angel and was able to beat him. Then when the angel left, Jacob comes and finds Esau. And Jacob says in the next chapter after that fight, he tells them, I have seen your face like the face of Elohim. That means I just fought Elohim and he looked just like you. Amongst other things, there are other interpretations for that, but that is one that is very important. And as we see in the New Covenant, the angels that Yahweh placed to protect us, the angel that protects a person has the same face of that person. So that's why the angel of Asaph just looked just like Asaph. And that is why when Peter was released from prison and he came to look for the disciples, he knocked on the door. A lady came to see, and he saw Peter, and she was so excited that she didn't open the door. She went and told everybody, but they knew that Peter was in jail, so they said it must be his angel. But then they realized it was actually Peter who was released by the angel. So right there we see that angels have the same face of the person they protect or guard. So that's why Asaph's Malach had his own face, and that's why Jacob said to Asaph, I just seen your face like the face of Elohim. So in that chapter, we see how, in that fight, we see how Elohim is a title that was used even by Samael, who happens to be a Satan. And that's why that Elohim came down and fought Jacob. And that's how Jacob was able to beat him, because he wasn't Yahweh. Obviously, no one can beat Yahweh. But the fact that the title Elohim was used there and not a name for the angel, in fact, he's asked his name and the angel doesn't reveal it because of the power that a person has when the person has a name of an entity, has pretty much authority over that entity. So the angel didn't want to give him the name. Plus the fact that he needed to be written down that way and his name wasn't supposed to be revealed, so that we would understand just the title Elohim, because that represents, just like Jacob fought Elohim, it represents how the last will fight Lucifer, who is the Elohim of this world, the mighty one of this world. So just like Jacob fought Elohim and won, the last will fight Halel and take him out of heaven in Revelation 12. Hope that's clear. That is profound point I have not let sink into now, that they refer to him as king instead of father. Yes. Exodus 4:22-23 says that Israel is his firstborn son. Is that a foreshadow of Yahushua? Yep. In fact, well, let me go and read it first. So Exodus 4:22-23. It is just like in, well, I'm gonna read this one that you just mentioned, brother. And he's talking about the whole of the people, right? And remember that Yahweh promised Abraham that he would send a seed through him. And he wasn't talking about Yitzhak, like Paul then explains. He was talking about Mashiach. He didn't say seeds, he said seed. So it was the fact that Mashiach, his son, would come from Israel, from the people of Israel. So Yahweh refers to the whole of the people as his child, because his child would come from that people. And we see that in prophecy even, and well, as a prophecy, because in when Mashiach was born and Herod wanted to kill him, and he sent people to kill the children of 2 years and under from Bethlehem, Yahweh told Joseph to take Mashiach to Egypt. And then when those who were seeking his life were not doing it anymore, Yahweh told Joseph, all right, get up and go back to Israel. And that was, as it was written, to fulfill the fact that it was said that Yahweh called his son from Egypt. So to Jewish people, the fact that Yahweh called his son from Egypt is referring simply to them as children. And that is kind of hypocritical also, because they wanted to stone Mashiach for saying he was a son of Yahweh. Yet in other cases, they would interpret that they were children of Yahweh. But when I was talking about humans as a whole, not just the nation of Israel, which is the case here. I was talking about humans as a whole. Like if you talk to any human who believes in a creator, most likely that human will say that he is a son or a child of that creator. But that is not what the scripture says. And when we look into scriptures, like this example that you just gave, Yahweh is talking about Israel, but because of the fact that Mashiach would come from Israel, his son, and that's why he would speak in singular, even though he was talking about plural, a bunch of people. And I repeat, it was a prophecy that Mashiach would come from Egypt, in the sense that he had to be taken there to be hidden from Herod, who wanted to kill him. So he killed all the children of 2 years and under. So Exodus 4, 22, 23. And you shall say to Pharaoh, thus said Yahweh, Israel is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go to serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, see, I am killing your son, your firstborn. So I repeat, this is obviously it connects with Israel, yes, but it is prophecy of Mashiach who would be taken to Egypt. And that's why it speaks in the singular. And since we are, and also it looks how it says, my firstborn. That is important because I repeat, there were a lot of people and they were all, well, children of Abraham, whose promise was that from him, the only begotten son of Yahweh would manifest. Another, just in case, because of this, before I go to the new covenant to show another one, in Proverbs 30, chapter verse 4, it says, who has gone up to the heavens and come down? Who has gathered the wind in his fists? Who has bound the waters in a garment? Who established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if you know it? To Jewish people, sadly, because of the interpretation of what you just mentioned, here it says, what is his name? It would be Yahweh. And the name of his son, they say Israel. Taking Exodus as an example, they say Israel. And obviously we can, according to the letter, say that, and we wouldn't be wrong according to the letter. But according to the spirit, we know that it's talking about Mashiach. We know that it's talking about Yahushua. In fact, I want to take this moment to show you something very amazing. I'm going to be sure about this, but it says, me Allah Shamaim, who ascended into the heavens. Me Allah Shamaim. Then it says, and descended. Then it says again, me, Asaf, Ruach, gathered the winds. So it has me here, another me there, another me there, and another me there. The word me in Hebrew means who. Who. Yahushua is the one who reveals the Father. That's why when Philip asked Mashiach, show us the Father, Mashiach said, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. That's why Mashiach said, I am the only way to the Father. The only way to know Yahweh is through Mashiach, the me, the who. Mashiach came in the fourth millennium, for he came as the light of the world, who was made in the fourth day of creation. That's why the word me appears 4 times in this verse. Who. Then it asks ma, once there and another ma. I mean, that was not it. Give me a second. Yeah, one there and the other one here. There's one me here. That will be the first millennium, second millennium, third millennium, fourth millennium, when the me revealed himself, when the who revealed himself to show us who is the Father. After that, there will be 2 millenniums until the end for the second coming to happen. And that's why after those 4 me's, we had one ma and another one here. So we have 6 millenniums represented by 4 me's and 2 mas. The word ma means what? What? So the first reveals who is the Father. The last reveals what he said. So that's why the first is wisdom. The last is understanding. First and last, me and ma, who and what. 4 millenniums for the coming of the me, 2 millenniums for the coming of the ma. Ma has the numerical value of 40 plus 5. So 45, which is the numerical value of Adam. That's why the last is the son of Adam, the son of Ma. But that wasn't it. What I wanted to show you. I mean, there are other things that we find they're very, very interesting. But what I want to show you is this right here. Look how it says Ma Shemo, right? What is his name? That's what that means. What is his name? So let's go to the translator and let's write here Ma Shemo. Mem Hey, that's what? Shem, that's name. And the Vav of his, what is his name? Right? So you can see there, what is his name, right? Now look at this. We have 40 according to the numerical values of the letters. 40 plus 5 plus 300 plus 40 plus 6. So 385.91. Just did it in my head. Hopefully you understood what I just did, right? That will be the numerical value of the words Mashemo. What is his name? If we write the name of the Messiah, Yahushua, that's how they write it, of course, but you know, that's the name of the Messiah. Look how, if you write that, they already write Yahweh. But once you place the shin, they change it. So Yahushua, this is 10, the Yud, this is 5, this is 6, this is 300, this is 70. If you add up each of the letters of Yahushua, you have 391. Here we have 370, 380 plus 11, 391. So in the words, what is his name? We have his name. The numerical value of Mashemo is the same numerical value of Yahushua. So through the question, we receive the answer. And if you add, because after Mashemo, it says Umashemo, because he asked what is his name and the name of his son. If we add the Vav, that would take us to 97, which is the other numerical value of the name when the name appears with two Vavs, which represents the second coming. That would be 297. So we find both numerical values in that verse. So the verse is actually revealing the name itself through the numerical value. So when Yahweh asks, what is his name? Who has gone up to the heavens and come down? Mashiach himself said he is the only one. He said that Eliyahu didn't go to the heavens. He said that Hanoch didn't go to the heavens. Even Moshe didn't go to the heavens. Mashiach himself said that no one has seen the face of Yahweh. So who did Moshe see? An angel. For Yahushua said, no one has gone up to the heavens. No one has seen the Father. That was one of the reasons Pharisees hated him, because they were like, you are going against scriptures. Moshe spoke with him face to face. Hanoch was taken to heaven. Yahushua was telling them he was not taken to the highest heaven. He was not taken to the Father. They did not see the Father, for the Father cannot be seen, for he is Ruach. Only Mashiach can be seen, and that's why Mashiach told Philip, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. That is the closest thing you will get to seeing the Almighty Creator through his Son. So who has gone up to the heavens and come down? That's the first who. Who has gathered the wind in his fists? The second who. Who has bound the waters in a garment? Who established all the ends of the earth? And look how it's the fourth talks about the ends of the earth, as in the one who completed all creation. That is the who. In Hebrew, me, which represents Mashiach, Yahushua. And then, what is his name? Numerical value 391. And what is his son's name? In this case, because of the translation, has son before name, so kind of switches switches the words. But if we, as we saw in the Hebrew, it said Umashemo, which has the numerical value of the other way of writing the name of Messiah. So there are two ways of writing the name of Messiah according to scriptures, with one Vav and two Vavs, which represent first and second coming. With one Vav, the numerical value is 391. With two Vavs is 397. We see those two numerical values in what is his name and what is his son's name. Obviously, we have here Yahweh and here Yahushua. But the Jewish people, since they don't understand through the Ruach this scripture, they only take it according to the letter. They take that part from Exodus and say his son's name is Israel. Okay, but like I was saying, I just want to make that clear. When I was talking about nowhere in scripture does it say that humans are children of Yahweh. The example that Brother Omar gave was referring to Israel, which are his people, right? The true Israel are his people. But still, the fact that he called them singular firstborn is because his firstborn, Mashiach, would come from the seed of Yaakov through Yehudah. So I hope that's clear. And the other part that I wanted to show regarding how what was it? Oh yeah, what we see in the new covenant regarding how Mashiach was taken from Egypt. Matthew 2:15. It said, well, I'm gonna read from 14. And rising up, he took the child. Well, I'm going to take it back. Verse 13, 12. And having been warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed from their own country by another way. And when they had left, see, a messenger of Yahweh appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Mizraim, Egypt, and remain there until I bring you word from for Herod is about to seek the child to destroy him. And rising up, he took the child and his mother by night and departed for Mizraim, and remained there until the death of Herod, to fulfill what was spoken by Yahweh through the prophet, saying, out of Mizraim I have called my son. So when he told Moshe, go and bring my son from Egypt, it was a prophecy that Mashiach himself would be taken to Egypt. That's why the prophet, Matthew is saying it here. So you see how, can you see the reference, the comment? It says Exodus 4:22-23, which is exactly the verses that you told me about, Omar. So it was a prophecy of Mashiach as the son. Hope that's clear. And since, like I always say, Yahweh speaks of the future as if it was past already, for he knows everything from the very beginning. Therefore, his people would become his children through Mashiach, his firstborn son. So in a way, it's not wrong, of course, but the only way that Israel can become the children of Yahweh is through the belief in the name of his son, his firstborn son, Yahushua, as we saw in John 1:12. Hope that's clear. So let me see another question. But nowadays they do call Adonai as their father, right? In a son, in an interview, I heard you say Abba. Yeah, they do so, but because focusing on those interpretations that we just talked about, of then seeing him, I repeat, it was kind of like part of the leaven of the Pharisees, because even in that time, they told Mashiach that they were the children, but then they would reject Mashiach for saying that he was the son. So it was like saying, we are, you're not, which is what they do when they follow Lucifer, pretty much, who makes them think that they are greater than others, that they're superior, that they are different in a better way. And that's why they write in the Talmud all the things that they write about. But my point was that they never understood really, even though they would say it and hope it, they would hope to be that, they didn't really believe it, for they saw a contradiction when Mashiach claimed it regarding himself. They saw an issue with that. So they would, some of them, claim to be children of, but didn't really understand it or feel it. Because one thing is to, like, let's say, like, for instance, I guess this is a perfect example. We just read in the Spanish study how it said in Isaiah, these people honor me with their mouths, with their lips, but their heart is far away from me. And the fear of Elohim is just a commandment taught by men, a commandment of men, which is according to the interpretation of the letter, not of the spirit. So Yahweh was telling them, you really don't believe in me. You claim you do, but you don't. You say it with your mouth, but in your heart, you're far away. The fear that you have for the Almighty is not the true fear. And the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yahweh. So they didn't have wisdom, for they did not fear Yahweh really. They had a fear that was taught by the Pharisees. So that is my point regarding they might have been taught, but they didn't believe it. And that is that is something that we see, I repeat, with the most common prayers that Jewish people make. Even though they might say in one or another, at another point, that they are the children, and I want to make that clear that I was just making earlier, they don't mean all humans are, they mean they are. And that's why when Mashiach came and said, I am also, or I am the only one, really, they wanted to kill him, because he, being the light, was able to show that they were not children of Yahweh. And in fact, in John, let me go to the book of John. John tells them that they are children of Satan. 42, Yahushua said to them, let me go back a little bit. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has spoken to you the truth, which I heard from Elohim. Abraham did not do this. You do the works of your father. Then they said to him, we were not born of whoring. We have one father, Elohim. So we see there, and I repeat, it was just the Pharisees, or in this case, the Jewish people who rejected Mashiach, claiming that they were children of Yahweh. In the Talmud, you can read that to them, the Goyim, the Gentiles, are just animals in human form. They take it according to the letter. Once again, I was mentioning how the actions of a person make that person spiritually an animal because of what he follows. But since in Judaism, they only understood the letter, to them, only they are children, while the other humans are animals in human form. I hope that's understood. What I meant earlier was referring to all humans as children. In John, we see that none are children. So even the Jewish people here were wrong. They just had a misinterpretation because of Exodus 4, what we just read, 4:22 and 23. So Yahushua revealed to them, you do the works of your father. So they do have a father, a spiritual father, but it's not the same father of Mashiach, and it is not the one that they thought they had. Then they said to him, we were not born of whoring. We have one father, Elohim. Through this verse, we can see what they meant by having Elohim as their father. They didn't mean that they came from Elohim directly. They meant they came from Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov according to the law. And therefore, because of being born through marriage according to the law, they would claim that their father was Elohim. I hope, and that's why the Gentiles would not be children of Elohim, because they were not under the law. And many of them would be born outside of marriage. So according to them, because of the law, they were as animals. They were not children of Elohim. So you do the works of your father. Then they said to him, we were not born of whoring. We have one father, Elohim. So look how they are talking really about being born of a woman, just not a whore. To them, that was enough to be a child of Elohim. So they were not understanding or talking in the same sense that we are referring to, or that at least I'm referring to, as us being children of Yahweh by being born again through his Ruach. So we were not born of whoring. We have one father, Elohim. Yahushua said to them, if Elohim were your father, you would love me, right? Just like we love him, because we love Mashiach. Through him, we become children of Yahweh. So if we are brethren, we must love each other. So it was just logical was what Mashiach was telling them. If Elohim were your father, you would love me. Now, I say Elohim in this case because the Pharisees would not use the name Yahweh, so most likely they were using Elohim to refer to the Most High. So Mashiach said, if Elohim were your father, you would love me, for I came forth from Elohim, and I am here. For I have not come of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not know what I say? This is key. Why do you not know what I say? The reason was because they were under an angel who wouldn't be able to give them understanding of the words of Yahweh, for it was only according to the letter what they received from that angel. So Mashiach asked, why do you not know what I say? Because you are unable to hear my word. They were able to hear the words. They were not able to understand his words. And that's what he meant by you are unable to hear my word. Because of their beliefs. So why do you not know what I say? Because you are unable to hear my word. You are of your father, the devil. You are of your father, the devil. So they had a spiritual father. They just had it wrong. They thought that the devil was the most high. But Yahushua told them, you're wrong. You're actually children of an angel. You are of your father, the devil, and the desires of your father you wish to do. So that's why they act that way. He was a murderer from the beginning. So he relates Satan to Cain and has not stood in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks the lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So he is the father of the lie, and he just told them, you are his children, so you are lies in the flesh. You are following a lie and you are teaching a lie. Hope that's clear. And because I speak the truth, you do not believe me, for they were children of the lie. So they cannot accept the truth. It doesn't go with it. It's just natural. Yahushua was not angry. He was being clear. He was telling them how it is. So, let me see. So I repeat, I hope that's clear. The fact that they call him, and even back then they would, but not in prayer, not because kind of my point, what I was trying to say is the difference between the relationship you have with your father or that you would have with the king. With the father, you have, well, you can speak like to him in a caring way, familiar way, and he would understand because he knows you from when you were born and what you mean and all of that. You have intimacy pretty much with your father, your parent. While with the king, you would have to be completely different. You would have to speak a certain way, be careful of not even looking sad, because if you would go to the king with a sad face, he could kill you, because that would be depressing for the king. So the king could kill a person for being sad, and we see it even in scriptures. So even though those are things that we should take in account, because of course Yahweh is king and we must respect him as such, it is greater to see him as a father. For there is much love when you understand that relationship. So my point is that even though they may claim that they are children of, because of the letter of Exodus 4, they don't really believe it in their heart, because they would only refer to him and think of him as a king, and not just a king, an evil king. So they would be afraid in the sense, in the negative sense of the word, because one thing is to be afraid, and one thing is to have the fear of Yahweh, to honor, to revere, to respect. And when it comes to being afraid, we should be afraid of not pleasing him. We should be afraid of committing a sin, but not because of hell, because we don't want to fail him. We should be afraid of failing him. We shouldn't be afraid of punishment, because we have Mashiach and he gave us forgiveness of sins. So through our faith, we understand that hell is not for us. It is written in Matthew that hell was created for Satan and his angels. We are not children of Satan, and therefore hell was not made for us. We shouldn't fear hell. We must fear Yahweh and fear failing him. So a lot of people confuse that, and that is something that would happen a lot in Judaism, not understanding really Yahweh as a father, even though they would claim to be children of. And I repeat, that is pretty much the thing that made them want to kill Mashiach, the fact that he claimed to be the son. Why would they be mad at that if he is a Yahudi and they claim to be children? Why was it a blasphemy for Mashiach to say that he was the son? Makes no sense. That shows that they didn't really understand what they were saying, even if they claimed to be children. And that's why Mashiach himself said, why do you not understand me? Because you are unable to hear my word. You just cannot understand it. So it says here, no wonder they are jealous. The inside of Genesis 6 helps me understand the plural they use referring to Elohim. Great. It says, I know this is true about the animals, understanding some of our language. Great explanation in reference to the angels, understanding. Great. It says, chimps have a very high imagery understanding when taught. If there was a certain monkey that knew hundreds of different images and could connect the word to the image, would they connect to any specific malach? Yeah. In fact, I don't know if you've seen, but in the the Hindu religion, in which they have thousands of gods, there is the monkey god, which actually was worshipped by Barack Obama. He had an idol of this god in his pocket all the time. And not only that, he was given another idol of it. So this would be the angel from whom the monkeys were created. It's called Hanuman. So this god that you see here as Hanuman is the monkey god, and that would be the angel who has the shape of a monkey, from whom the image of the monkeys were made. You see here, he took it out of his pocket. He would always have Hanuman in his pocket, and many other idols, just in case, not only that one. Easter, the rabbit, exactly, Priscilla. That's why, because Easter to them, right? The way Easter comes from Ishtar, the name from Ishtar. Ishtar is the queen of heaven, who in Jeremiah we see as an evil entity. They would worship her as the queen of heaven, but is evil wisdom, is the spirit of evil wisdom, and that is whom they worship during Easter. And they have the symbol of a rabbit, because Ishtar and the time of the year in which they celebrate that feast has to do with fertility. And since a rabbit has a lot of rabbits and he does his thing, then it represents fertility. So that's why they use the rabbit as the symbol of Easter, and Easter comes from Ishtar. Exactly, fertility celebration. You had it right there. The Ruach give us the breath of life, spiritual life. Great, that's right. Did David then understand the Ruach of the Torah more than anyone else in the Tanakh? Pretty much. I mean, I will have to go through each of the of the people of the past, but because of the things that he revealed in the book of Psalms, like for instance regarding the sacrifices and other things, yeah, it seems like he is the one from the Old Testament who understood the New Testament before it was given. And we see it through his actions. We even see scripture saying that he had a heart unto or like the heart of Yahweh. So David, the way he would think and interpret scriptures was like Yahweh would expect from us to interpret scriptures. Since he ate the bread from the temple. Exactly, brother. Great example. In fact, that is the example that Mashiach uses to show that David understood more than all of the Pharisees that were trying to kill him. One that kind of gave a lot of push to all of that of the Anunnakis was a guy. I think he might have died already. Zechariah Sitchin, who wrote a book and claimed to have translated the Sumerian tablets in a better way than anybody in the past. So a lot of people follow him, and he actually made up some things which are believed nowadays by a lot of people, most likely by that dude that you mentioned. And it says, like when Yahushua told the Pharisees that their father is Satan because they followed the letter from Lucifer. Exactly, we just read that. The first is the who, and the last is the understanding of the who. Yeah, that's why he's the what. Who and what, me and my, first and last. It says, I was raised with that same mentality of Yahweh being an angry tyrant king, punishment. Sadly, my dad still holds this view. Now I realize I'm still seeing him like that many times. Yeah, brother, I understand, and it's normal. It's one of the most common things. And but yeah, hopefully all of this that we've spoken about tonight helps you, and he will help you for sure to unlearn that aspect, because I repeat, he's a king, but he's not a tyrant at all. So yeah, see him as your father. And that's another thing, that some, obviously we all have parents who are not perfect. So even when we get to see the Almighty as a father, we automatically connect the Almighty with the father that we may have had. And if our father was not very good, then we would see the Almighty as not very good. And that is another issue. So we must be careful in our minds and our hearts to purify the thought or the idea that we have of a father, and understand what a father should be according to scriptures. And that is what Yahweh is to us. So I repeat that because many times the example that we may have from our earthly father may not help much when it comes to seeing the Almighty as a father. So take that in account when trying to grow when it comes to your relationship with the Almighty. And you're like, when you are in prayer and all of that, ask him to show you what a true father is, and ask him. And I mean, I don't know anything about your father, so I'm not talking about your father specifically. I'm talking about all parents, right? So just ask him to reveal himself to you as your father, as the true father, and a good and real father. That is one of the reasons why Satan has made sure that a lot of people don't have parents nowadays, and well, fathers, because it is common for people to be raised by their mothers, and no matter how much a mother tries, she cannot fill the shoes of a father, just like a father cannot fill the shoes of a mother. So they may be able to provide everything thanks to the Father Almighty Creator, but there are certain things that they can just not do. So men, and I use men in this case because we needed the example of a male figure in the house, and if that male figure left, we lack that. And then when the Almighty comes to reveal himself as the Father, we are like, so what is that? So keep that in mind. That is one of the reasons why Satan has made sure that a lot of households don't have a father, so that we cannot understand really what Yahweh as a father is. Interesting, brother. At least you have then the soldier part. Uh, so all things are for the good of those who love Yahweh. So no matter what you were taught, it will help you to reach the Father and see him in a certain way. But there's always much to learn, of course, regarding our relationship with him and how much he loves us and how good he is, unlike a earthly father or earthly king or earthly military general or whatever. Enoch sees fire in the sky, and John sees a glass house. Is it both, or the kingdom is all that Abba allows to see? I'm not sure like to which verses you are referring to, but kind of understand. Like for instance, the in the book of Daniel and in the book of Revelation written by John, we see several similarities between what he saw when he looked at the throne. One sees a rainbow around it. Another one sees fire around it. That's pretty much the same vision explained by two different perspectives. Because the rainbow is the covenant that Yahweh made with men when he told us that he wouldn't destroy the earth with water ever again. Yet he would do it through fire. So the rainbow reminds us of the fire that is coming, the consuming fire. And the rainbow happens because of the light when it shines and it bounces on a mirror, pretty much the firmament. Through the water of rain, it creates that that we know as rainbow. So light comes from fire when it comes to, well, not always, but back in the day, obviously fire was the source of light. So since fire is the source of light and light bouncing on a firmament, a mirror through water creates a rainbow. That's how there's a connection between fire and the rainbow. Plus what I mentioned regarding Noah and how Yahweh promised that he would bring fire this time. Also, John sees like a sea of glass. I'm not sure, perhaps you, that's why I wanted to know the verse, because I don't remember glass house, but a sea of glass is what we see in Revelation 15. And that sea of glass is the firmament. And remember that the Shamaim were called firmament, or I should say the firmament was called Shamaim because our firmament represents the heavens that are above it. And in Hebrew, Shamaim is the mix of Esh and Maim, fire and water. So that's why one would see fire and another one would see a sea of water. So it's pretty much each of the prophets' perspective, or the way they would explain what they were seeing. Besides that, when the Almighty reveals something to a prophet, he does so through the imagination of the prophet. So Yahweh, through his spirit, uses the imagination to project images in the head of the prophet. And those images are like parables that the prophets write down, and then we must understand as prophecy. So the prophets would see an image that was projected to them for them to understand what is happening in the heavens. But we know that the highest of all heavens is spiritual, so it's invisible. That's why Yahweh would make it visible through the mind of the prophet. Why the book of Enoch isn't in most Bibles? Mostly because of the knowledge that is given there that is not accepted by most religions, and I say religions like Christian religions. So they didn't add it to the canon. Even before they decided on the Bible canon, before that, the Jewish people didn't accept it either for several other reasons. But we see, according to what is written in scriptures, that it is inspired and it was used by the disciples, but the Pharisees of the moment didn't accept it pretty much. So then came the priests, the Catholic priests, and they followed that line and didn't accept it either. So, verse 1. Thank you, Jay. Does it happen after this that my spirit passed out of sight and ascended into the heavens, and I saw the sons of the Kodesh Malachim? So that was the whole point I was trying to explain. It's talking about the Malachim. Walking upon the flame of fire. Their garments were white, and their overcoats, and the light of their faces was like snow. The light of their faces was like snow. Snow, other than looking white when the sun shines, it makes it like it look very bright because it bounces on the snow. So pretty much that's part of what he would be saying there. The other translation says, they were treading on flames of fire. Their garments were white and their countenances gleamed like crystal. Pretty much the same point there that I was mentioning regarding how light shines and bounces. Also, I saw two rivers of fire, the light of which fire was shining like the, well, dark blue, which is the color of this precious stone. So then I fell upon my face before Yahweh of hosts. We see in Revelation, in Ezekiel 28, that the body of Lucifer was made out of precious stones. So this is not so far off when it says here, shining like the jacinth. And I repeat, is a dark blue. So then I fell upon my face before Yahweh of hosts. And Mikhail, the Malach, one of the chief Malachim, seizing me by my right hand and lifting me up, led me out into all the secrets of mercy, and he showed me all the secrets of righteousness. Led me out into all the secrets of mercy, and he showed me all the secrets of righteousness. This is very important because we know that Mikhail is the one who would manifest as the last to reveal to the people the secrets of mercy and the secrets of righteousness, which are pretty much what Mashiach came to reveal and fulfill. So, like I was saying earlier regarding the me and the ma, the who and the what, Mikhail would be the what, which is interesting because his name starts with me. Mikhail means who is like the mighty one. And it is a question that was raised when Hillel said, I will be like the mighty one in Isaiah 14. So Mikhail stood up and said, Mikhail, who is like the mighty one? It was a rhetorical question. Only the who is like the mighty one. Only Mashiach, Yahushua, is the image of the mighty one. So that's why Mikhail is the ma. Mikhail is the one who reveals who is the who is the me of Mikhail. Me is who, Ka is like, El is mighty one. So Mikhail, who like the mighty one. And I repeat, that is his war cry. That's what he said when Lucifer said that he would be like the mighty one. So Mikhail the Malach, one of the chief Malachim, seizing me by my right hand and lifting me up, led me out into all the secrets of mercy, and he showed me all the secrets of righteousness. The secrets of mercy, the secrets of righteousness, like the two thrones of Yahweh, first and last, mercy and justice. Here where it says righteousness, the other translation writes justification. Led me into all the secrets of mercy and show me all the secrets of justification, which is also important. If we see it like that, because it is like the two ways through which people can enter the kingdom of Yahweh. Mercy by accepting Mashiach, confessing his name, and therefore receiving salvation in order for them not to die even. While righteousness or justification, if they believe in his testimony, after they die, they are resurrected and forgiven of their sins during judgment, while the others would judge, pretty much. He also showed me all the secrets of the extreme ends of heaven. So the heavens have ends. And all the reservoirs of the stars and the luminaries from where they came out to shine before the faces of the Kodesh ones, of the set apart ones. The other one says, he showed me all the secrets of the limits of the heavens and all the stores of the stars of the luminaries from hence they dawn in the presence of the set apart ones. Then he says, he carried me of my spirit, and I, Hanoch, was in the heaven of heavens. Here, with what I was explaining, this would mean pretty much in the seventh heaven. The heaven of those seven, the highest heaven of those seven that are within the second heaven. Remember, I was talking about the first heaven, that of humans, the second heaven, that of angels, and the third heaven, that of Yahweh. The second heaven is divided in 7. So Hanoch was taken to this one, which is right below the third heaven, or the heaven of the Father. He carried off my spirit, and I, Hanoch, was in the heaven of heavens. There I saw in the midst of that light a structure built of crystals, and between those crystals, tongues of living fire. Tongues of living fire. And my spirit saw a ring which encircled this structure of fire, just like Ezekiel saw the same ring, Daniel and John. So, and my spirit saw a ring which encircled this structure of fire. On its 4 sides were rivers full of living fire, which encircled it. Moreover, seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim. These 3 types of angels are, the seraphim are snakes of fire that fly. So they have wings. The cherubim have 4 different shapes, or they are made of, and they are explained in different ways depending on the part that you read of scriptures. Sometimes as like including their entire bodies. One part is like an ox, another part like a lion, another part like an eagle, and another part like a human. In Ezekiel, we see that they have actually 4 faces, those 4 faces that I just mentioned. So let's say here it has the lion, here it has the man, here it has the eagle, and in the back would be the ox. The ophanim are wheels. They are a type of angel that looks like a wheel. It's weird, but it is what it is. Ophanim means wheels. And we see it in the book of Ezekiel. When Ezekiel saw the cherubim, he also saw ophanim right next to them. And the ophanim, the wheels, would move with the cherubim. So it is also possible that many of the UFOs seen by people, many, not all, it is possible that they are ophanim. That's why they look like wheels or like discs going around. Even the way Ezekiel explains the ophanim, a lot of people interpret it as being what nowadays they call UFOs. But I repeat, the ophanim are wheels who are a type of angel. So they are creatures. They are not spaceships. They are a type of creature that looks like a wheel or a disc. It has 2 parts and one goes around, just like many of the UFO sightings. So moreover, seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim, the sleepless ones who guard the throne of his splendor, also encircled it. And that is all, like we see also in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah saw the seraphim and the cherubim. Ezekiel mentions the cherubim and the ophanim when he's talking about the throne of Yahweh. And the throne of Yahweh is the heavens, and his footstool is the earth. So when a vision of the throne, the honor of Yahweh, was given to Ezekiel, he was given also a vision of the creation itself. So that's why they encircle it. For instance, like Yahweh speaks of in Isaiah that he sits over the circle of the earth, where there is also 4 corners in which there is a cherub in each corner. I repeat, the east is the lion, the west is the ox, the right, which would be the south, is the man, and the left, which is the north, would be the eagle, as we see in Revelation. In the other translation, yeah, I'm seeing several differences, so I might go from one to the other to see whatever this one is missing, we'll read it from the other one. Surrounding it were seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim. These are those who never sleep, but guard the throne of his worth, the throne of kabod, kiseh hakabod in Hebrew. the throne of his worth, honor, esteem, kabod in Hebrew, the weight of his honor. Then it says, and I saw countless Malachim, 100,000 times 100,000, 10 million times 10 million, encircling the house. And I saw innumerable envoys, thousands of thousands and 10,000s of 10,000 surrounding that building. Here they wrote million, pretty much to make it sound greater, but that word was not in Hebrew, so that's why the other translation said 10,000s of 10,000 surrounding that building. So it is pretty much a number that couldn't be counted. So they say in this way. They say it in this way. Mikhail, Raphael, Gabriel, Phanuel, and numerous other Kodesh Malachim that are in heaven above go in and out of that house. Mikhail, Raphael, Gabriel, Phanuel, and numerous other Kodesh Malachim that are countless. That angel that appears here as Phanuel must be Peniel, most likely, which would mean the face of the mighty one. So, for instance, if a human were to see Peniel, the angel, he would see the face of Elohim, in the sense that that could be written without being an issue or a lie or a contradiction, because he was looking at an angel whose name means the face of Elohim, and therefore would represent Elohim in a certain way. That's why here is mentioning 4 Malachim. 4 Malachim connected to the 4 cherubim that surrounded the throne, the 4 corners of the earth. I'm not saying that these are the 4 that are on the 4 corners of the earth. I'm saying that these 4 are represented by those 4 on the 4 corners of the earth. And numerous other Kodesh Malachim that are countless. With them, let me see in the other translation. Yeah. With them was the head of the days, the ancient of days. So with them was the head of the days, Rosh Hayomim. His head is white and pure like wool, and his garment is indescribable. So the ancient of days was with them, so he would be in the middle on the throne. His head is white and pure like wool. So, as you know, wool comes from the sheep. The hair, or well, wool is very different than straight hair. And this is one of the reasons, because we see also this in scriptures many times. One of the reasons that it is said that his hair would be more like that of black people, that is more like wool. And the white of his head would be because he is the Ancient of Days. And the older you get, the whiter your hair gets. However, the texture of it is mentioned as wool, which is very different than the straight hair that they make on God and Jesus and all of that. His head is white and pure like wool, and his garment is indescribable. The other one says, with them was the head of days, whose head was white and pure as wool, and his garments were indescribable. I fell on my face. Also, the fact that he mentions wool obviously connects with Mashiach as the Lamb, because the Lamb is the son of the Father. So that's why he would have hair like wool. So I fell on my face, my whole body. You see here, there's a separation, and it connects this part with Hebrews 11:5. Then I fell upon my face while all my body fainted, and my spirit became transfigured. My spirit became transfigured. So I fell on my face, my whole body mollified, and my spirit transformed. Then I cried, and then I cried with a great voice by the spirit of the power. blessing, magnifying, honoring, and extolling. I cried out with a loud voice, with a spirit of power, and I blessed, praised, and exalted. And those are the blessings which went forth out of my mouth, being well pleasing in the presence of the Ancient of Days. Then the Ancient of Days came to Mikhail, Gabriel, and Raphael, and Peniel, and 100,000 and 10 million times 100,000 Malachim that are countless. The translation says, and these blessings that proceeded from my mouth were considered well pleasing in the presence of this head of the days. And the head of days came with Mikhail, Gabriel, Raphael, and Suriel. In this translation, it mentions Suriel instead of Peniel. And an innumerable multitude of envoys. Then he came to me and with his voice bade me Shalom. Then a Malach came to me and greeted me and said to me, that greeting is Shalom in Hebrew. So, you son of man, who art born in righteousness and upon whom righteousness has dwelt, the righteousness of the Ancient of Days will not forsake you. This shows how Hanoch is a representation, or himself, the last, because of what is being said here. Remember that the last is called the Son of Man. Yahushua spoke of the Son of Man in the third person. He was talking about himself as a prophecy or prophetically, and well, he was talking about himself because of what would happen to him at that time, but also talking prophetically about the second coming, the last. So that's why he would speak in the third person. Mashiach, when it comes to the letter, Mashiach would be the seed of the woman, mentioned in Genesis 3:15, when talking about the one who would destroy the serpent. So Mashiach is the seed of the woman. That's why he came from a virgin. The last comes from a regular relationship between a male and a female, and therefore he is the Son of Man, for he comes straight from Adam. While Mashiach came as the second Adam, that's why he didn't need the seed of the man to be put into the virgin Miriam. Just like Adam was made from the virgin earth, the virgin soil. So in the other translation says, then he came to me and with his voice bade me Shalom, saying, this is the son of Adam who has been begotten by the righteousness, and righteousness shall reside upon him. So the last comes, and through his belief in Mashiach receives righteousness. That's why this can be fulfilled with him. You, son of man, who are born in righteousness and upon whom righteousness has dwelt, the righteousness of the Ancient of Days will not forsake you. Then it says, he added and said to me, he shall proclaim Shalom to you in the name of the world that is to become. So other angels do sleep. If it says in 71:7 that these are sleepless, it's pretty much referring to all the angels, but the point is the fact that they are always next to the Father and worshiping the Father. That's why we read in the book of Revelation that they constantly say, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. He who was, who is, and who will be. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. So the point is that they don't sleep in the sense that they always praise Yahweh. They never leave their post as those who surround the throne and honor him. Is there a reason as to why one translation is adding numbers to the innumerable number of Malachim? Like I said, like they all have numbers, they both have numbers, but in Hebrew, it would use thousands of thousands, 10,000s of 10,000s. However, since it is something that the prophet couldn't really count, so he's saying the biggest numbers that he knows, one of the translators decided to write the biggest number that he knew, which were millions, a number that is not found in Hebrew. So that's why I mentioned it would be thousands, not millions. But since the prophet is trying to say that there were way too many, the writer writes millions. I meant by Mikhail being the what? Last. Yeah. Yeah, in the name of Mikhail, we can see a connection with both. It's like the last, who is the what, revealing who is the who. That's why the last is Mikhail, because Mikhail is the one who reveals that the me is like El. So yeah, continuing, and I guess let's see from this one, if anything, go back to the other one. He said, on you shall he confer shalom by his name of the world to come. So the point here, well, in this translation would be, he shall confer shalom to you by his name, the shalom of the world to come. The other one said, he shall proclaim shalom to you in the name of the world that is to become. So kind of two ways of seeing it or interpreting this verse. I'm going to mention both because in a way they will be both right. The last, as Hanoch, is being told that he would receive shalom, the shalom that surpasses all understanding, through his name. So the last, by confessing the name and preaching it, would receive the shalom that surpasses all understanding, which is the shalom that comes from the world to come, meaning the eternal shalom, the shalom that we will have, that we will all have once we are in the new earth, in the new heavens, the world to come. So on you shall he confer shalom by his name. The shalom comes through his name. And the shalom that he's talking about is the one from the world to come. If we were to see the other one, he shall proclaim shalom to you in the name of the world that is to become, would be the fact that the last comes to proclaim the name, as we see in Exodus 33, for instance, when Moshe asks to see the kabod, the words, the honor of Yahweh, and Yahweh says, I will pass before you and confess my name. So the last comes to proclaim the name so that people can enter the world to come. So he shall proclaim shalom to you in the name of the world that is to become. The last comes to proclaim the shalom from the world to come, from the world that is to become, as it is written there. And also, not only in the name of Yahweh, but it could be said like that other translation, in the name of the world to come, because he's doing it for that world. Those people who accept the doctrine will be able to enter that world, and therefore he's doing it for that world, not for this, because this world will perish. Also, we see in the book of Jeremiah that the last is called Yahweh Sidkenu. And that is also the name that will be given to the New Jerusalem, which comes from heaven at the end of the millennium, after the judgment day, the final judgment. So, interestingly enough, according to Jeremiah, the title that will be given to the last, Yahweh Sidkenu, is also the name of the New Jerusalem, which is pretty much the main part of the world to come. So he shall proclaim shalom to you in the name of the world that is to become. For from thence has shalom gone forth since the creation of the world. Confirming what I was saying regarding the shalom that surpasses all understanding that was given to us by Mashiach, which comes from that eternal world, but that we can feel through the confession of his name. For from thence has shalom gone forth since the creation of the world. The other one says, for from here proceeds shalom since the creation of the world. And so it shall be unto you forever and ever and ever. And thus shall the shalom be on you for always and all eternity. All shall walk in his way. All shall walk in his way. So in a way, we can see that Yahweh is prophesying something about Hanoch as the son of man, therefore representing the second coming. And we see that he will bring the shalom through his name and walk in his way. So, as we know, Mashiach came and he said, I am the way. That's why the last comes and gives testimony of the first. The last comes as the good shepherd, walking through the way to lead the sheep to Yahweh. So that's why Mashiach had to come to become the way and the gate, as John 10 says. then comes as the good shepherd to walk the way and enter the door, as we see in Micah or Mikhail chapter 2 at the very end, verses 12 and 13. So all shall walk in his way, and while righteousness shall never forsake him. This is something that we also see in the promises that Yahweh gives Shlomo or Solomon as the son of David. And I say like that in the sense that that was a term that could be used for Shlomo, of course, but is a term that is referring to Messiah normally, the son of David. I say normally because then Messiah came and told the Pharisees that he was the root of David, and therefore the son of David was the second coming, the root and the branch, first and last. And if there's anything about that you need me to explain, I'll be glad to do so, but hopefully you're getting it so that I can continue. So all shall walk in his way, and while righteousness shall never forsake him. Yahweh promised that righteousness and even mercy would never forsake Shlomo. And that was a prophecy referring to the last. And it is important because it is obvious, or it should be, that it's talking about the last, because Mashiach didn't need mercy. Mashiach fulfilled the righteousness of the law. Therefore, the law said that he needed to live forever. That's why when Satan killed him, Satan broke the law. And that's why Yahweh raised him up from the dead. So Mashiach was raised up after being killed because he had fulfilled all the Torah. And the Torah says that he who fulfills all the laws of the Torah, he will live. So since Mashiach did, he was supposed to live, but Satan killed him. So Yahweh raised him up. And in that term, in turn showed that Yahweh was above the angel that the Jewish people were worshiping. And that angel, the accuser, couldn't do a thing to stop the resurrection of Mashiach. So my point is that Mashiach didn't need mercy. Justice did the job because he fulfilled the whole of the law. So since he fulfilled the law, righteousness was on his side, and therefore he was raised from the dead. The last comes as the prodigal son, and there he needs mercy, and that's why Yahweh promises that his mercy will never forsake the last, in a way like we are seeing here, and shall walk in his way, and while righteousness shall never forsake him. All shall dwell with him their inheritance, and from him they shall not be separated ever, nor for all eternity. So it is like talking about the body, which is the congregation, being connected to the head, which is the last, filled by the Spirit, which is Mashiach. And there are several ways in which that can be explained, because we know the congregation is the body of Mashiach, and Mashiach is the head, when we only talk about head and body. But when we include blood, brain, heart, as I always say, the body, as in the flesh, the bones are the few, the blood are the many, the brain, which is what makes the head work, is Mashiach first, and the heart is the last, the branch of David. That's why David had a heart like Yahweh. David represents the heart. The last is the heart, and the heart is in the body. That's why the last is connected with the apostasy of the end, when the many need to hear. And I say the many because the many are the blood, and the blood goes to the heart. Hope that's understood. So all shall dwell with him. So that is like the body finally being connected with the head, the blood going through the heart according to what the brain tells it. All shall dwell with him their inheritance, and from him they shall not be separated ever, nor for all eternity. And the other translation says, everyone that will come to exist and walk shall follow your path, since righteousness never forsakes you. So look how Yahweh is prophesying of something regarding the Son of Man. And when he's saying all of that, for instance, in this translation, we see red letters because it is pretty much the word of Yahweh. So the word of Yahweh, Mashiach, coming through the Ancient of Days, speaking a prophecy regarding the last. Everyone that will come to exist and walk shall follow your path, your way, Mashiach, since righteousness never forsakes you. Together with you shall be their dwelling places, and together with you shall be their portion. They shall not be separated from you forever and ever and ever. Verse 23, and many shall be the days, confirming what I was just saying. And many shall be the days with this branch of Adam. The branch is the last. Yahushua is the root. That is a very important point. So really, if any of you needs further explanation, let me know. I'll explain it. That might take like an hour. So that would be like to the end perhaps. But if it's understood, I'll continue. So many shall be the days with this branch of Adam. I'll explain it real quick. Mashiach appeared before the Pharisees and asked them, whose son is Mashiach? And they said, David's. And Yahushua told them, how can he be David's son if David himself calls him Adon, sovereign? In Psalm 110, when he said, talking about David, when he said, Yahweh said to my Adon, sit at my right hand until I place your enemies as your footstool. When Yahushua said that, well, after quoting the verse of Psalm 110, verse 1, he said, if David calls him Adon, how is he then his child? Doesn't make sense. Therefore, Mashiach was explaining to the Pharisees that he is the root of David, not the branch of David, as we see in Isaiah 11. In Isaiah 11, it says that a branch will grow from its roots. And further down the line in those verses, we read that the root, by the time the branch appears, the root would be in the heavens. So, in an exalted place, which is the right hand of the Father. In the New Covenant, when Mashiach asked the Pharisees this, the Pharisees couldn't answer. And still, they wouldn't be able to answer that question made by Mashiach. Not only the Jewish people, even the Christians, which is amazing and sad. If you ask a Christian whose son is the Messiah, they might say other things, but they might end up getting to the same point of the Pharisees. David, the son of David. However, Mashiach said he is not the son of David. He said he is the root of David. As I always say, what one fulfills spiritually, the other one fulfills physically. So Mashiach physically came from Miriam, so he had the genetics of David. Yeah, when it comes to the flesh that he was covered in. But when it comes to his soul, which is who we are really, he came from the Father straight to this world through a virgin. So Mashiach was actually the root of all humans, because Mashiach was the image from which Yahweh took to make men. When he said, let's make men in our image and likeness, he was referring to the image of Mashiach. In fact, first and last, image and likeness. And another, well, the gematria of those two words are connected also with first and last, image and likeness. So Yahushua was the image that Yahweh used to make humans. So he is the root of all creation. That's why all creation came from him, for he is the word. But the Pharisees didn't understand it, just like Christians wouldn't understand it nowadays, because they have a different idea of Messiah. Even Christians, I repeat, they think of the same one coming now, well, in the past 2,000 years ago, and coming in these end times for the rapture that they are expecting. So Mashiach was saying, I am not the branch of David, I am the root of David. And we see throughout the prophets that Yahweh promised the branch of David to come and rule. But for a branch to grow, we need the root first. That's why Yahushua came first as the root, and then the last comes as the branch. And I repeat, Psalm 110, which is the one that Yahushua used to make that question to the Pharisees, which they couldn't answer. And after that, they pretty much, after that question, since they couldn't answer it, they did not want to ask anything else ever again. So that was the last conversation between the Pharisees and Mashiach. And Mashiach, what he told them, they knew was right, but they couldn't understand it according to their doctrine. The same thing happens with Christianity because they don't understand the first and the last. They don't understand the two comings of Yahweh on this earth, the two manifestations. But Yahushua was trying to explain it there. Psalm 110 says, David, in that context, David represents the second coming, the last, the branch of David. So David said, Yahweh said to my Adon. So David right there was saying that he had two Adonim, or Adonai in this case, two Adonim in the heavens, the Father and the Son, the two mentioned in Proverbs 34, chapter 30, verse 4 that we just saw. Who is the one that did this? What? So Yahushua was explaining when David said, Yahweh said to my sovereign, sit at my right hand until I place your enemies as your footstool. He was prophesying that Yahweh was saying to Mashiach the word, sit at my right hand, which happened after he resurrected, until I go and put your enemies as your footstool. The heavens are the throne of Yahweh. The footstool is the earth. So Yahweh was telling Yahushua, sit at my right hand, which happened 2,000 years ago, until I go down again to the earth and bring Lucifer, who is your enemy, down with his angels to the earth, which happens in Revelation 12. When Satan falls to the earth is when the enemies of Mashiach become his footstool, because the earth is his footstool. Hope that is clear. So the fact that it says here, and many shall be the days with this branch of Adam, confirms that Yahweh is talking to Hanoch as if he was the last. That's why he called him first the son of man. So Hanoch represents the last. And I said it could even be, depending on how we see it. And that is one of the reasons, because of those connections, not necessarily because of this chapter, because of those connections is one of the reasons why most people in Christianity who actually read Revelation 11 claim that the two witnesses are Hanoch and Eliyahu, for they were the only two people who were taken up without dying. Sadly, that is the only connection that they make, and they make it because of a verse that they take out of context from the book of Hebrews, in which they claim that since they went without dying, they must come down to die. But if that were so, that would mean that the 144,000 who are taken up without dying would have to come later on to die. So it really doesn't make sense when you take the whole scripture in account. It makes sense when we read stuff like this, in which we see that Yahweh talks to Hanoch as if he was the last. Plus, in Judaism, they believe that when Hanoch was taken, he was turned into an angel, the angel Metatron. And according to the book of Zerubbabel, Metatron is Mikhail. So that would kind of mean that Mikhail was the angel of Hanoch. So they had the same face. And when Hanoch went up, he would have become one with Mikhail. So when Mikhail comes down, it would be Hanoch once again. Hope that's understood. And many shall be the days with this branch of Adam. And Shalom, in the correct way, shall be for the righteous, in the name of Yahweh, the sovereign of spirits, eternally. In the name of Yahweh, the sovereign of spirits, eternally. The other translation has, so there shall be length of days with that son of man, or branch of Adam, and shalom to the righteous ones. His path is upright for the righteous, in the name of Yahweh of hosts, forever and ever. The fact that the other one translated, instead of his path is upright, it says, and the correct way shall be for the righteous. Remember that the righteous will be the ones who will become righteous through their death. They will basically, with their death, pay for whatever rebellion they had against the true doctrine. But once they are resurrected and made righteous during judgment, they will follow the correct way, meaning they will confess the true name of Mashiach. They will follow the true Mashiach instead of the Christ that they have been taught by the false doctrine of the apostasy. Hope that was so clear. I just realized that the scroll of the luminaries, yeah, I thought we were supposed to start here tonight, but I guess we had that chapter in the middle. So, well, let me see how many questions we have, because I guess we can close it here. First time we only read one chapter, and then next week we would continue with the luminaries. And I say that because I saw that it's kind of late already, but I feel like we just started, honestly. Let me see. Wonder why in my translation of verse 16 it says your way and never forsake you. The 16. Okay, good point. Yeah, that's one of the things that the reasons why I would love to have the Hebrew version from which they translated it. Now, remember that there are two different versions of this book. So that's why there are certain differences when it comes to the names, like one said Peniel and the other one said Suriel. So there are two versions of this book. The differences are very small. They're not that many, but there are differences. And that could be one of the differences, that one says him and the other one says you. So in a way, it would be speaking in the third person of Hanoch. The other one would speak in second person, like directly to Hanoch, basically the point. The 16, it said here, everyone that will come to exist and walk shall follow your path, since righteousness never forsakes you. So yeah, we see here in a, I guess, clearer way that Yahweh, the Ancient of Days, was speaking to Hanoch and saying, everyone that will come to exist and walk shall follow your path. Now, the path of the last is Mashiach. So that would mean they will follow the true doctrine that you will teach. And that doctrine is what Mashiach revealed. Because Mashiach is the wisdom, the last is the understanding. That's why Yahushua revealed the wisdom and still people didn't get it. They couldn't get the parables. The last comes to explain the parables. In fact, Yahushua himself said that when he came speaking in parables, but when he would appear once again, he would speak clearly to them. Let me show that verse because I think it is important. In the book of John, chapter 16, listen to this, it's very important. Verse 23. And in that day, meaning after he would be gone, you shall ask me none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he shall give you. So once Mashiach left, his name would be left for us to ask the Father anything, and we would receive it through his name. So, and in that day, you shall ask me none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, because back in the day, the disciples would ask Mashiach everything. Mashiach would tell them parables. They wouldn't understand. So they would wait because they acted like they understood when they were around everybody. But then they would be in private and they would be like, Mashiach, about that, I didn't get it. Could you please explain it? So Mashiach would explain the parables when they were in private. But here Yahushua says, you won't need to ask me anything anymore, because now through my name, you can ask the Father and he will reveal all things to you. So, and in that day, you shall ask me none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he shall give you. Until now, you have asked not in my name. This is amazing. And it fits even till this point with most people in the world. I don't know about you guys, but when I received the name of Mashiach and eventually reading the scriptures got to this point, was amazing, because most people grow up calling on God and Jesus. So they haven't called on the true name. And Mashiach says, until now you have asked nothing in my name. Ask and you shall receive, in order that your joy might be complete. So a lot of people are not filled with joy, spiritually speaking, because they have not called on his name. But if they called on his name, then they will be filled with the true joy. In fact, remember that in Hebrew, joy is the word simcha. And I'm going to show this right here. Well, and simcha is the noun, but when it is used as a verb, we have this yismach, which means he will be happy, he will be joyful, he will rejoice. He will rejoice would be, I guess, the best, right? This is yismach. But let's say we take this letter right here and put it right here. Then we take this one, put it next. Then we take this one, put it next. And then we finish with the same one. And we have Mashiach. So it is only through Mashiach that we will rejoice. So that's why Mashiach said, call on my name and then your joy will be complete. So going back, until now you have asked not in my name, ask and you shall receive, in order that your joy might be complete. Now listen to this. This is the point that I wanted to make. These words I have spoken to you in figures of speech. These words I have spoken to you in parables. But an hour is coming, talking about the last, talking about the second coming, talking about the end. However, the disciples didn't get it. They were hoping that it was then. It was like when Mashiach said, an hour is coming, they were expecting the next hour. Like, okay, so at 2, right? Something like that. But that's not what he was saying. He was talking about a certain time in the future. So these words I have spoken to you in figures of speech, but an hour is coming when I shall no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but I shall declare the Father plainly to you. That's why the last comes to speak plainly and say things as they are without having to use figures of speech, even though he might do so because of the fact that it's the same spirit. And it just so happens that that's one of the ways in which the spirit reveals things. But since the first came as the wisdom, as the who, he came to reveal who the true Father is. And that's why the Pharisees didn't accept it and killed him, because he revealed not only who our true Father is and who is his Father, he also revealed who is the father of the Pharisees, Satan. So that's why he came to reveal who is the Father and who is not. But the last comes to reveal what the Mashiach said, what the Father says. So in that what is the plainly, what we see here, but I shall declare the Father plainly to you. In that day you shall ask in my name. And I do not say to you that I shall pray the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself does love you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came forth from Elohim. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father. Now listen to this. His third one said to him, see, now you're speaking plainly and not using figure of speech. So they were like, oh, now we understand, finally. And that was pretty much the only thing that he spoke plainly. The fact that he would come and speak in a plain way, like clear way. So here we see that Mashiach explained, during the first coming, I spoke to you in figures of speech. That's why you didn't understand everything, because he came to reveal the who, not the what. But the second coming is to reveal the what. Therefore, he speaks clearly. And obviously, in a way, I guess it's nice to have read this verse, because it's kind of connected to what I explained at the beginning regarding creation and this body being made, because that is an explanation that I always have certain I don't know, I don't like to get into that subject that much, even though it's part of what I need to teach. And I believe it's very important and very clear, and it helps us understand a lot of other things. But I realize and I know for sure that to most religions, Christian religions or Jewish religions, it would be blasphemy because they don't understand it, because they maybe think that I'm saying something different, or just because of the fact that it is way too plain and too simple when it is said in a clear way. And I repeat, Jewish people are forbidden from looking into that subject of how creation happened. Well, Christians are not forbidden, but they are not told. So they have an idea that is very different from what scripture says. And they don't read scriptures that much. And sadly, when they do it with the lens that has been given to them by Christianity. So like I have explained also, when I started reading scriptures, I was Christian. And after Yahweh revealed his names to me, I started reading scriptures and I saw how the Christian doctrine started to fall apart, and how pretty much I was starting to understand a lot of things that I wouldn't understand before. And I started to see a lot of things that are way higher than what we were taught in Christianity. So I can understand a Christian like flipping out because of not understanding what we just spoke about in this study. Now, I think I wanted to show another verse. Let me see what it was. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Listen to this. For we know that if the tent of our earthly house is destroyed, and he's talking about the human body. As I always explain, the body is the house of the soul. So that's why Paul speaks in this term, just like in Judas and Peter, we see how the angels left their heavenly homes, pretty much. It is not talking about mansions that they had in heaven. It's talking about their bodies. They had to leave their bodies up there in order to enter similar bodies as ours, so that they could have children with the women, as we saw in Genesis 6. So listen to this. For we know that if the tent of our earthly house is destroyed, we have a building from Elohim, a house not made with hands, everlasting in the heavens. So the building that Yahweh will give us is the new body. So imagine just that comparison. Just like compare a tent to a building. No matter how nice, how expensive the tent may be, cannot compare to a, let's say, the Empire State, to mention a building. Imagine the difference between living in a tent and living in a building like that. That is pretty much the difference that we see between this body and the body that we will receive. But the point that I wanted to make with this verse is that it says, a house not made with hands. That talking about the building from Elohim. Therefore, the earthly house was made with hands, because the heavenly house is not made with hands. So the fact that it mentions hands shows that angels were used when it comes to this earthly house, the tent of our earthly house. Yahweh will give us one which is not made with hands. So in contrast, the tent of our earthly house was made with hands. And that makes it of a lower quality.